Yeah, this is fun. Hello, my friends. It's Andy and Hedia coming to you. Hedia.
Oh. Man, this is already off to a terrible start.
Andy and Leandra, we're going to be bringing you an update. It's February 10th, 2026, and just things keep rolling in. Of course, we have the issue with their hatred. I'm talking they, which is the teachers union operatives, some members of PYLUSD's employees. They're engaged in this downright hatred for law enforcement, and I've been trying to figure it out. You know, we see it all over the United States, but it seems to be particularly hateful because they have transitioned from ICE to all of law enforcement in some posts that I've seen. But I do believe that it's because, well, mostly you, but maybe a little bit me, we're both former law enforcement. And so I think that really feeds into their hatred and their narrative and all this thing.
Yeah.
And I've talked about it a lot, and I'm going to revisit it here just a second for just a little bit. And that is this one story that an El Dorado student was riding his bicycle, ringing his little bell, riding his bicycle, and apparently, according to the story, the an ICE van or ICE agents pulled up and just began chasing him. He ran like for no reason. Maybe he didn't have his light
on a bike,
or his handlebars were too high. Who knows? And they chased him, tackled him, apparently pointed guns in his face, and then oddly enough, they called it the gang unit.
Yeah, but they asked for his papers.
Oh, asked for his papers.
What cop ever asked for your papers?
No, not even ICE asked for papers.
But I think that was trying to play into the Nazi movement.
Yes.
But go on.
Yeah. And so then they called the gang unit, which I don't know. I don't think ICE has necessarily a gang unit. They're involved in gangs all the time. Every one of them is a gang expert. And so I don't know why they would call the local PD gang unit. It doesn't make any sense. That's how I knew right away that it was bogus. But then the story goes on and says that he was taken to OCJ, which would mean he was an adult and most likely committed a felony, or else he wouldn't have been booked in the OCJ. They would have cited him out. And so that just makes the whole story. So just on the surface, it was a false thing. So because they say El Dorado student, they want to make the community believe that this is something that happened somewhere around El Dorado, either on the way to school or home from school or hanging out with his friends near the school. So of course, the logical thing is for me to contact the chief of police of Placentia Police Department and talk to him and ask him, hey, can you tell me about this incident? And he says, well, this incident didn't happen. He goes,
imagine that.
It's a made-up story.
Imagine that.
And I go, yeah. He goes, none of it makes sense, but and agreed, with the narrative just didn't make any sense whatsoever, any part of it. And so we hear from I believe Bonnie Conte at Yorba Linda Moms.
It had to have been Bonnie or Esther, I would imagine.
Somebody said they had a police report. So the next thing we see, because we asked for the police report and she refused, or he or they or whoever refused to show the police report. Is that another red flag? Like if you have some evidence that shows that this thing is real, why would you hesitate to do that? You could blot out the name.
Well, and the fact of the matter too is that if he was going to Orange County Jail, he was an adult, 18 more than likely, and that's public record.
So there's no reason not to show. So then I guess last night, I wasn't aware of this. I got text messages like crazy. Hey, did you see what's on social media? And we get this. And it's sorry, I know I'm not supposed to laugh. Stop making me laugh. Sorry, you on Instagram can't see this, but
it's hard.
It says claim the El Dorado student who was detained now, not arrested and taken to OC jail, is a fake story.
Pointing in the face. Where was he beat up?
That all kind of went away.
They were handed over to Anaheim Police Department, but this is the whole thing of the matter too. Like, let's back up. Looking at the ticket. So I saw this morning. I went to sleep early last night, and
it's hard to see.
Yeah. And so I wake up and there's just all this. And so apparently this is a student who went onto Facebook to Yorba Linda Buzz Uncensored. And this is where I have been putting, we put it on a lot of different social media platforms on Facebook and Instagram. But this is one of the places where there's a lot of back and forth, back and forth.
Yep.
So you're telling me a teenager made a Facebook account, logged on, and then went on as anonymous with all of these claims that, oh, this was student led. But we did find, we did go with the, Party for Socialism. And we did reach out to all of these adults, like Yorba Linda Moms and PYL Buzz. We went out to all of these things to help us get this going. So you relied on adults to help spread your message and get this going. But back to the ticket. So I look at it, and as I was telling you a minute ago, the ticket is the Anaheim Police Department. And so
let me just read this narrative real quick. It says the student is real. Okay. It still doesn't change anything. However, they will remain anonymous to ensure their safety. After their status was verified, they were handed over to the Anaheim Police Department, where their phone and footage was taken for investigation. All we have at this time is their citation. Now it says bike stop that's circled on there. You can't see it. But it's such a horrible picture. Things are blurred out. We can't see what the violation was. There's a spot for it. I've written many of these Anaheim police tickets, and it shows no information, really. And this really doesn't change the fact that the story is a lie, because it's Anaheim Police Department. So a kid was in Anaheim, nowhere near El Dorado, who happened to be a current student or past student at El Dorado High School, as far as we know. I guguess they said that they're a current student.
There's so many stories. Who knows?
But okay, so I said this story is fake. The Placentia chief said it's fake, and they proved that it was fake. So I don't know what they thought they were gaining by putting this up, but they proved my point. Because everything disappeared. Everything. Now it's just Anaheim Police Department. He wasn't taking OCJ, like I said, which is crazy. And we do have a site of some kid that was stopped on his bike.
Which everybody knows, law enforcement, we don't even know. I couldn't tell what time of day it was or whatever, but if you are riding around without a light on your bike, I mean, that is how officers stop. And that's what I stop people all the time. No light on your bike, we pull you over. That's just how it is. Safety issue.
What are you doing in this area?
What are you doing here? Why are you riding your bike with no light? But I also think too, is what people don't understand is ICE is federal, and you would never, as a police department, you are issued, these are moving violations. And so they're only issued to police officers for that department. You would in no way ever, you're responsible. Like when you get new ticket books, you check them out. Serial numbers, you sign for them. And so unless, you would not give ICE your ticket book to write a citation for this kid. And if ICE did witness this, I wouldn't, if I was coming to assist and they said, hey, give this guy this ticket, I didn't see it. How am I supposed to go to court and prove a moving violation that I did not see?
Exactly.
So the whole thing is just.
We're not dealing with the best of the best when it comes to this stuff. And I think they forgot that I worked at Anaheim Police Department.
I think they must have forgotten
so
that.
We'll be finding out more information about this stop.
Well, then, you know what, and you know what, too? It should go further than this, because Yorba Linda Moms, all of the nonsense and the lies and the hate and all the stuff that they spread, now they're doing this on officers. So, is this defaming the Anaheim officers? Because it was Anaheim. They're defaming ICE, first of all. We find out it didn't happen. This was Anaheim Police Department. So you keep going. And then they keep digging. But then you go on the Yorba Linda Buzz Uncensored, and this student just digs a deeper hole because she's talking, yes, we collaborated with PYL Buzz, Yorba Linda Moms, OC Indivisible, the Party for Socialism and Liberation. Yes, we did all this. And it's okay. Well, you just proved our point.
I really believe it's the other way around. I think they were able to indoctrinate these kids and use them. And that's my argument to the superintendent, is that she needed to speak up and talk to the community and say, stop using our kids as pawns for your political agendas. And this is putting our kids in danger when they go out to these protests, and when they walk off of school and they're allowed to do that without being stopped, without parents' permission. and they lose control of their students. They're responsible for between whenever it is they start, in some schools at 7:30 until 3 o'clock, and everything in between. We, as parents, we assume that they're going to keep our kids in a safe place.
Right.
We have fences around the schools now for a reason.
Mhm.
It's to keep people out, and in some cases to keep the kids in
Right.
and just wandering out into the street.
Right.
And so, but now with the apparent okay of the superintendent, in my view,
Mhm.
I know you have to hold a different little position here, but in my view, she's allowed this to happen by not speaking up, by
Mhm.
not giving general orders to the employees at these different schools. And I've not said that kids can't protest. They can protest before school, after school, but just allowing them to walk out and putting them in a place of danger, which again, I've heard on social media, not necessarily the FBI or anybody else, that there's plans to cause a mass casualty
Mhm.
event. And we've seen kids get hit by cars
Yep.
that have been walking out of high schools.
Mhm.
What do you think should be done, as far as you can talk about? Isn't there a responsibility of the
Yes.
schools
Mhm.
to safeguard these children
Yes.
that are being encouraged to do this thing by adults in the community?
Right. Well, I do know that Mussolino, when they always reference this Esperanza walkout that the girls organized, and it wasn't even a walkout because it was before school.
Mhm.
So it was mainly like they were just trying to bring awareness to it and stuff. And so it was actually before school started. And so you could totally tell that was grassroots because they reached out to me and told me about it. And they asked if I would, come support them. And I said, well, of course I will. I'll come support you. It's before school. You have this boy going in the girls' bathrooms. This has been an issue in our school district for a long time now. Mussolino tried to stop it. And, so that didn't make a whole lot of sense. But, they just walked outside to the front lawn before school. They didn't even walk anywhere. They walked from the cars to the front lawn.
Right.
And so, there was police there. And actually, I was very disappointed with the administration at the time because they were giving these kids dirty looks. It was very much like that it roped off. I mean, it was like not very welcoming, like I heard these two administrations were to these people who are walking out of school against ICE. However, with this one, when you leave school, you have to have, it's not like you just walk out of school. Like, in fact, too, some Orange Unified high schools have actually stopped the kids at the gate, and they had a list of whose parent had called them out of school. And if your kid was not called out of school, they didn't let you go, because that's what the state law is about. You're not able to get up and just leave. You have to clear this before you're going to go walk out. And so I think that we were deficient in that. I've got videos from people that these kids surrounded their cars, were banging on the cars. They wouldn't let them leave. I can't share the video because there was a 10-year-old girl in the car, and they were videoing them. They were, everybody's videoing each other. And so they don't want any type of retaliation. We've had the kids that were refusing to let cars leave. And so I think what's happened here is they tried to push this as this was just this great walkout, but then you have all the other stuff coming in, who was actually involved, what was happening. The mass casualty event, like if I was making a decision as superintendent, I would have sent out a letter that said, we cannot confirm that ICE was involved with this student. That we can't confirm any of these incidents, so as far as we know this, and it didn't happen basically during school hours or on campus. I would also come out and said that what these social media groups were pushing was fake, that these resolution I brought forward, because everybody that's read the resolution, I've had kids reach out and said, hey, they were really trash talking you, but I want to read the resolution. And it's actually very common sense. If there was explanations in this parent and they showed what the upcoming policy was and what the resolution was, most people look at it and go, what in the world? There's nothing wrong with this. But you allow these social media groups to take over and to run this narrative. And then now these kids are walking out. And then now you have all these things, happening. And it actually is making our students and our district look very, very poor. Yep. Because it's not like now parents are out here going, oh my gosh, why was Party for Socialism and Liberation at this event? Why was OC indivisible? Why are these people who push socialism, communism, why were they there? Like they thought there was like I told you before, Super Bowl, a bunch of my kids' friends came over and they said, remember that time when we walked out at Esperanza to pay tribute to a rapper who did minutes left of the period walking out to lunch. So they left their class and they walked into the quad early for lunch. And that was student led. And so I feel bad for these students who are saying, no, this is student led, but we called every adult we know that's a social justice warrior and said, please help us.
Did that student led protest into the quad, did they have pre-made signs
I don't know.
that had your picture on them? Let's see.
Yeah.
So here we have one of these pre-made signs. Is Leandra Blade. That's a good picture.
It wasn't a bad picture.
Yeah, not a picture.
And I kind of put some good background music to it. I was like, hey, I can get on board with this.
Yeah. What does it say underneath? I forgot.
It says get out of PYLUSD. And then it says Party for Socialism and Communism.
So the student-led
Mhm.
protest had pre-made signs that no kid.
Well,
I know these kids.
yeah.
Listen, I got to tell you, I have kids in elementary school, junior high,
Mhm.
high school. This is my fourth kid in high school.
Yeah.
That I've had throughout the years. And I have tons of kids that come over the house.
Right.
None of them would spend their parents' money that they're given as an allowance
I know.
or made on their own to go spend $50, $100 for these pre-made signs with your
Yeah.
image on them.
Mm-mm. I mean,
This is
unless you
wild.
It is crazy. I mean, and it has the Party for Socialism and Liberation on the thing.
Yeah.
So it's highly coordinated. I mean, and I think that's what gave it all away. And there's nothing you can say now. You keep coming out and now you're giving us a ticket for Anaheim Police Department. It's not ICE.
No.
No, now you're coming out and saying, yes, we coordinated with all of these adult-led social media groups and activist groups in the area. That is not student-led.
Right.
I
And you'll
mean,
come out and say you have a police report when you have a ticket.
yeah, it's a
There's
ticket.
no police report.
Yeah.
You at some point, these parents
Yes.
who have wanted to walk the fence
Mhm.
or even take sides have to be getting tired of being lied to.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just
Mhm.
constant lie
Yeah.
after lie after lie. It just doesn't seem to stop.
Well, and I think too, if you're going to say I know the schools put out like, oh, you need to, if your kid's going to walk out, you need A, B, and C.
Mhm.
But I also think too that with leadership comes that you need to put stuff out. We have found this is not true. We have found like, here is the 2 copies of this. As you can see, it does not open up ICE, to allow ICE into our facilities. It does not target Asian and Hispanics. It doesn't do this. I mean, to stop because then like what it does is everybody feels like they've been lied to. Like the only person like that they probably haven't been lied to is by me and you. Because we've been coming out against it. But then everyone else is like, well, wait a second. And then people are upset. Like there's a lot of parents are upset that said, look, my family immigrated from Cuba. And you're telling me now that these kids are walking out in this school and you got people at El Dorado High School the day of the walkout passing out these ICE cards. How do you evade law enforcement? How to do this? You're telling me this is what they walked out to because they want to embrace socialism. Like this is what this was about. So there's just a lot. I mean, we know 90% of these kids walked out to go to Chipotle. I mean, that was the big thing. It's fine. But, the honesty. And so now we have the case where you could have put out and said, yes, it is your Democrat right, to walk out of school to protest something. However, this is the criteria, but us as a district, we want you to be aware that this is the narrative that's being pushed and it's false. But when you have a board majority who belongs to these groups and they're pushing this false narrative against the 2 conservatives on the board, I mean, look at what they did to Chernus. These people, like nobody wanted to actually even interview when we were looking for a new superintendent because everyone says these knuckleheads are going to fire us. Like we see the writing on the wall. So you can't come into a position like this though and afraid to be fired and then not notify the school, or the parents of what is actually happening and just let a false narrative get run.
And how would you not, as a superintendent, understand that your role as a leader of the school,
Mhm.
your job is to protect the kids.
Right.
And she has just completely failed on so many areas when it comes to this. And I emailed her and warned her about it being a lie. I gave her the chief's phone number and that she should do the right thing and just simply, and again, I did not say anything about not allowing kids to be able to, honor their First Amendment rights. I just said, well, you need to put out that the information that they're basing this walkout on is a lie.
Yeah.
That there's not once has ICE ever come onto the campus and
Mhm.
drug a kid out of school.
Right.
It is not happening and it hasn't happened and it's most likely never going to happen.
Right.
It hasn't happened anywhere in the United States.
Mhm.
And you just need to tell people that because you have this whole other group, which is mostly teachers union led, that are fomenting these scare tactics and
Yes.
causing fear,
Mhm.
which is another issue, health issue.
Right.
Is that if some of these kids are truly scared,
Yeah.
wouldn't you not want to stop that from happening?
Well, yeah, and then I'll tell you too, but then the other side of the thing is all these kids are so scared, then why would you run out and walk out with all these signs in front of law enforcement? Why would you impede traffic? Why would you climb light poles? Why would you terrorize people in cars if you're that afraid of law enforcement? You can't have it both ways. You just can't. You can't have it both ways. It's either one way or the other. And I'm sorry it has to be that way, but when you're in this type of arena, and you're making these claims and you're scaring the heck out of everybody.
Yep.
I mean, and then too, I was very happy. And the one release that I posted yesterday was this party. I keep wanting to say it's public, but Party for Socialism and Liberation. They actually came out on their socials and they admitted the truth. That they just don't want us to cooperate with ICE, and we don't want to say that we support ICE or law enforcement or anything because they're a bunch of thugs. And it's against what they want. But they did say if they pass this, it will set a precedent for other school districts to sign things that says, yes, we will cooperate and we will work with law enforcement. And that's what they don't want. So it's not anything to do, like literally, if you look at the new state law and the policies that we're having to adopt, there's nothing that's really different at all. Like what ICE is doing, or law enforcement or federal, anybody, any type of law enforcement agency, what they're doing yesterday, they're going to be doing the same thing tomorrow because there's really no big change. It was just some additions in there about, like information about families. And so I have a lot of questions too when we're going to go through this is they say you can't release information on families and all these things. And, they have Social Security or all this documentation that we're asking of our American citizens. If we're not asking the same for illegal immigrants that are in our schools, then why are we asking for any information at all? That's my next question. So that's a question. So do we have like some type of, do we have another big lawsuit where it's like, well, if you can't ask for this person,
if you're an American, you have to give us
everything. But if you're illegal, we don't wait. It needs to start going. It's nuts. It's absolutely crazy. Absolutely crazy. But
and then really nothing changes as far as law enforcement coming onto a campus.
Like it says in the board policy, it says the same thing that the other policy said, but this is just a ploy from the state because they're trying to take the stand against ICE. Oh, we're making a new immigration policy. Oh, we changed a couple words, but we're standing here. We're going to defy ICE.
They can't come on unless they have a reason.
Exactly. And I will say too, we also need to address that the reason that the teachers union is so wanting ICE to not be able to get on is, I believe that this could be conspiracy theory, but I've been right a lot of the time. I think that what people want to do is they want to make our schools sanctuary cities where law enforcement just can't get you. So we're going to start housing, like being able, this is like a safe haven, like, hey, parolee, you're running from the cops, jump onto a school ground, you can't come on. But I mean, that might be a little far-fetched.
No,
but
not at all.
But the other thing too is we have had such a mass exodus from the state of California, but not only that, from public school to charter school to private school, because they do not like what is being pushed in. And this is an example. We're going to lose a lot more kids after this. Like people are like, oh my gosh, get my kid out of the school district. So that's one thing. But when these illegal immigrants are in the seats, we get money from the state for that pupil. So it doesn't matter if you're an American citizen or an illegal immigrant. We educate everyone who comes in the schools. So that's why they don't want ICE into the schools. That's why they don't want ICE doing their job, is because that's taking money away, which takes money away from teachers' jobs, which takes funding away, because if you don't have a lot of teachers, you don't have a lot of union money coming in. And so that makes them less and less powerful. So that's one of the reasons they are really, really supporting, this anti-ICE agenda, which is just sad, because I mean, we've lost how many people in California, but Gavin Newsom, we used to get maybe $15,000 in ADA, which is average daily attendance. Gavin Newsom bumped it up to $27,000 a student, 12,000 over, because we've had such a but he's trying to keep people employed, and he's trying to keep that money coming from the union, because that is how
he got elected.
They're getting elected. It is the biggest Ponzi scheme I've ever seen.
That's why I laughed. I put it up. I have so many graphics in the roll there that I won't be able to find it. But they argued that they should defund ICE and give it to schools, as if money has meant any
It doesn't
better
mean
education.
anything,
We spend the most money than almost any other state, if not any other state,
Yep.
on education,
Yes.
and yet we have the poorest outcomes.
Yep.
We're down in the 40th
Mhm.
of the 50 states in school,
Yep.
in education.
Yep.
And so that just it's hysterical, because it's not about if more money comes in, then it's going to go towards the education of
No.
kids.
It'll go towards the adults. It was just like with our COVID money. Like you look at Chino Valley, when Chino Valley got the one-time money, they spent $35 million on security and renovations to their facilities, self-locking doors, license plate readers, cameras, all these things to protect the students. What did we do? We used so much one-time money to hire adults. That was it. We didn't, upgrade our facilities. We didn't do anything. We were absolutely just hiring adults. And then the one-time money went away, and everybody started yelling and screaming that people were being fired when their contracts were just up.
Oh, we were paying Linda Mannion to be a teacher who
yeah.
wasn't teaching.
Yeah, we were paying Linda Mannion to sit at the union office all day for 20-something years as a teacher. I mean, that could have gone to another teaching position to teach the kids, not to politic for Carrie Buck and Marilyn Anderson and Trisha Quintero and Nancy Watkins and who else? Like, we just keep going down the line of all the people that they, put. Like, I mean, we know somebody who's down the street from the APLE office who would watch as all these teachers and Linda Mannion's out there loading out signs, political signs at 11:30 during a school day. I mean, it's just insane that these schools are just all politics.
That, there's so much of what it is we're talking about going on that has nothing to do with education. This chaos that they like to blame on you is the chaos that they've created through all of their poor decisions and lack of competence in how to educate, how to run a business.
Right.
You really do have to look at when you see, I'm not going to say his name because everybody gets triggered when I say President Trump's name. But when you have a businessman, I just said his name. When you have a businessman running things, then what happens? The inflation goes down.
Yes.
GDP goes up.
Yep.
We have money going into children's bank accounts. As they grow up. It'll turn into hundreds of thousands of dollars. You have gas prices go down. You need to take the same thought process when it comes to running a school. You have a bunch of people that have never run a business in their life. They are just worried about what it is the teachers union wants and nothing about what the students need as far as education. And this is why we're in this chaos. It's not because of you. It's because you keep trying to get us back to education and stop all this other nonsense that is poisoning the kids' minds and opening them up for this idea that socialism is the way to go when it's never worked in the history of the United States and killed billions of people over the decades that it's been going on. The hundreds of years that it's been going on.
And I will say too, like, if you look, ever since Turnus, things which wouldn't fly under Turnus, the union didn't have any type of real power because he kept them in their own lane. But even right now, I the last board meeting, I had to bring up the fact that you have union leaders running around trying to collect signatures during the school day, which is a complete violation, totally against the rules, interrupting classrooms, intimidating teachers to get them to sign. I think it was for Prop 55 or something. Somebody told me getting them to sign these things. And what happens? Nothing. And then they say, we paid APL, paid for a sub. How is APLE sending funds into our district general fund pay for subs? Wow. It doesn't make any sense. And so, I have to ask a week later, hey, did we ever get to the bottom of this? Oh yeah. I mean, no, people aren't paying attention to this stuff. You have outside Democrat parties using teachers in our district and students and our supplies to make things for their Democrat Party, websites. You have all these things going on where this is just how it was. Nancy Watkins, the APLE, women in industry, she's a political candidate and it's against the law to allow any type of politicking on campus. And here you are, they're putting her as a woman in industry speaker. And she's basically just announcing her candidacy for the Orange County Board of Education, and this is just how they've always gotten away. And so Turnus said, no, this is against the law. You can't do this. And so they had to remove her, and they were just up in arms and so upset. But you know what? I don't even know if we're able to do a women's in industry this year, because I mean, I think men should be able to speak because it's what they're doing to the students.
Yeah.
Why are we calling it women in industry? I mean,
We're allowed to go into girls' bathrooms. Why can't we speak at a women's event?
I mean, I think what's good for if you're allowing all these things to happen to children, then you
Yeah.
know what? Then the adults, same thing. Same thing.
Wild. I want to hit something real quick and maybe take us off topic for a second, but I want to talk about the fact that we've been coming on now pretty regularly to expose the lies
Yes.
and to give the facts and the truth.
Mm-hmm.
And people have been taking that as an attack on them.
Yeah.
Well, we use the names of the people that are
Mm-hmm.
lying.
Yeah.
And fomenting fear in children.
Yes.
In our children, and in your children that are watching.
Yes.
That's important. Somebody has to do it.
Mm-hmm.
But in response, that we get some hate.
Yes, you do.
My wife gets hate, and
Yes.
she told me yesterday. She goes, "What did you do? I'm getting all these people telling me get a hold of your husband. Make him stop. Make him stop picking on these moms.
Yeah, gosh.
The moms that are telling lies and,
Yeah.
and creating fear in our children. I am sorry, but
Yeah.
I'm not going to stop.
Yeah.
What's been happening with you? What kind of hate have you been seeing, and what kind of attacks have you been getting?
Well, this is nothing out of the ordinary, but they have been calling. They did call my husband's work and said
Oh,
that
wow.
he was a Christian nationalist, and he should be fired, and he was an insurrectionist. And somehow somebody said on January 6th they saw him inside the Capitol when he was at home in Yorba Linda. And so there's been a lot of nonsense, but we have this group called PYLUSD Truth, and they've been spewing lies since the last election, and they come on and
isn't that like the liberal Democrats, is that they give something a name that is actually the opposite of what it is.
Yeah.
It's always the way.
So
Sorry.
there's going to be I'm going to just reveal a lot of stuff tonight at the board meeting, like just no hold bar. I'm just going to start. We're going to start discussing some things. But apparently, me and you are having an affair.
Oh,
that's in this email.
Don't tell my wife.
I don't tell Dave. Okay. I know. Hey, yeah, she's right there. But also too, they called me in this one email. They called me Team You Christy Gnome.
Oh.
But okay, so
No.
her hair, my hair doesn't grow. I think I've told everybody, I have to have short hair because it doesn't grow in front at all, just in the back. But have you seen her? The most amazing arms. And so you have to get a hold of her.
I mean, I really didn't notice.
So yeah. I mean, they're really good. So I was always like, well, maybe this is a good thing. But Team You, I mean, you're right. My workout is probably not as good as hers.
Way taller than you?
She's very, I have a picture with her. She's a lot taller than me. But yeah, they say a lot of things, but then they attack my kids. And so that's another thing we'll discuss tonight at the board meeting is I have, people like administrators releasing emails that I've sent to them because I've asked, the district hasn't released them. So we have administrators that are releasing emails to these social media groups. And then of course they only print a little bit of it. They don't print the whole thing. We've had people, but I mean, I'm going to just lay it all out tonight, what's happening and why there is such a lack of trust, because I have a parent right now who is just absolutely infuriated the way that her child is being treated at one of the school sites by a teacher. And it is absolutely terrible. However, she will not give me the name. She won't give me the name of the child. She won't give me anything because she says the retaliation is so great. She says, I see what they did to you and how these administrators retaliated against you for standing up for your child when they were wronged. And she goes, I don't trust this board majority. She goes, Marilyn Anderson, Tricia Quintero, and Carrie Buck will absolutely release stuff and retaliate against me. So this is where we are too. You don't have, I mean, when you see what these people have done to me and the stuff that they've done to my kids, how do you think that anybody's going to trust you? Because everybody's just letting it happen.
Yeah, I've seen it. One of my kids. Well, I have to say, he's in elementary school, and he gets A and A+ on these little files that they bring home, the red book, the red folder. And it's like A+, A minus, A+. And then you and I did a show not too long ago. It was like 4 or 5 shows ago. Following that show, it was D+. Yeah. And I go, Bo, what did you do? He goes, I don't know. I mean, I didn't really do anything different. And like 2 days or 3 days in a row, he got D's.
Yeah.
I mean, these things are real. And this is why we know they don't really care about the students, these particular people. Now, I'm not saying all teachers. When I talk about the teachers union, I'm not talking about all teachers. When you talk about the teachers union, you're not talking about all teachers. There's just a few teachers on there that we see at the school board meetings and at these events. Unfortunately, my kids happen to have some of them as teachers. And I've even had my ex-wife email me, you got to stop doing those shows. They keep harassing one of my kids. And she gets mad at me. And I said, what? That's exactly why they do it.
Yeah.
They're trying to use our kids against us. My kids are really strong and very strong in their faith. And they know what I do. And I've talked to them about it. But as a matter of fact, this morning, just for a funny side note, I had breakfast this morning with my kids. And my daughter who goes to El Dorado, I said, well, how many of your friends walked out? She goes, none of them. They're not stupid. And she goes, but I did. And I looked at her and I went, wait, what? And she just, yeah, I thought I would go out there and walk out. And I go, you did not. And she goes, no, I didn't. She goes, but you should see your face.
Well, and I think too, they released this email that had to have been like, because I have the whole email and I know exactly who it was sent to. So I have a pretty good idea. In fact, I'm going to ask for an investigation into what administrators are releasing these personal emails. But I digress. But they put this out that, I was, letting my kid be truant or whatever. It didn't make any sense what they were trying to use. Well, so my middle son who went to Esperanza, he blew out his knee in football, like his senior year. Everything was torn. And so he had to keep going in, he had a big surgery, was out, maybe for, a few days, week or so. But then he had these checkup appointments. And so obviously it has to be done Monday through Friday. So that one of the times when he was late to school, they gave him a hard time about not having a note. And this was after the walkout that the administration and the teachers at the Esperanza coordinated with students to walk out because they wanted to protest Giles, not, his contract not being renewed.
Yeah.
And so they're giving me a hard time that they're going to give him a detention because he doesn't have a note. And I'm sitting here, I said, no. The things that this kid has had to endure, he was cursed at. He had to actually, this teacher would curse at him so much, and they wouldn't let me move him into another class, like same subject, another class, another teacher. So I had to just move him out of the entire subject and get him into a new subject because for some reason they wouldn't let me move him. But apparently it's okay to call a kid an asshole in class when you ask a question and say you're problematic. A teacher. And then when he asked a question, he said, look it up, like math class. He says, look it up on YouTube. Like, this is the stuff that's going on at Esperanza. And so then you have another teacher who's pushing critical race theory, implicit bias. He's doing this. So, I talked to him. And then you have, more and more stuff that comes out. And so I said, look, he's endured all of these things. And so now you're going to say he needs a note because he came back from his knee doctor appointment. I said, you know what? He was protesting. From now on, if he's thirsty, if he's hungry, he can go across the street to Esperanza Burger. He just call it a protest. I was being facetious, but the things that had gone on at that school were so egregious. I literally got a call one night before I think his sophomore year, and his friends who had just been at a party with somebody, an APLE rep. And she said to everybody, she'd been drinking. And so I do like it sometimes when people drink. They said, we have her kids' names, we know all of their teachers, and we were absolutely prepared to deal with her and her kids. What does that tell you? So I reported to the superintendent, and they kind of brushed me off. Well, the very first day of school, he comes in a gator mask. This was still back in COVID. Comes in this gator mask, which is approved mask. 3 of his yelled at him and got him in trouble. First day of school, you can't. That's an unauthorized mask. Try to get him to change his mask out. And then they called his football coach and says, you need to discipline him because he's wearing the wrong mask and he is insubordinate. And the football coach, thank God, was like, he kind of goes, wait, what's going on here? This isn't how this kid is. Like, what are we doing here? So they tell me this. So I have to bring this forward. And then, yes, the gator mask was fine. And so they were absolutely just out of their minds, just trying to go after the kid. And so I had to switch his classes because they couldn't be in there with those teachers anymore. That is what we deal with. Your kid gets a detention at Yorba Linda High School. Text-a-tips. These kids, they would go after my kids with text-a-tips. And then the tip would be just absolutely insane. And so they would get upset that my kid didn't get in trouble for something because he didn't do anything. And then they go on and say, oh, her kid's violent. They should have had this. But what teachers, and I know who the teachers are, that's the thing. But what teachers are pushing these out to the PYL Buzz and Yorba Linda Moms? What teachers are releasing data about my kids, Todd's kids? So if that's where parents are starting to get to, if they'll do it to a board member, they will absolutely 100% do it to your kids.
Absolutely. We're so easygoing for the most part, because so many things happen, and a couple of these stories I've heard, but some of them, we just, our kids are resilient, and we raise them that way. They're tough, and we tell them, hey, have joy in difficult circumstances, and because it grows resilience, and we don't run out there and scream and yell about every little thing.
Right.
And don't create fear in our kids.
Right.
But like, for instance, it just came to mind is that I pick up my son when I have 50-50 custody of my kids. So this morning, like I said, I went and picked him up to take him to school, and he went on his winter camp trip last week from Brookhaven. And I pick him up and I go, how was your camp? And he said, oh, I didn't tell you, we got lost. I go, what do you mean you got lost? He goes, yeah, we went for a hike. And it was supposed to be 2 hours. We were lost for 5 hours.
Oh my goodness.
And they had to come and rescue us. They had to bring vehicles out to find us. The school didn't let me know.
Nobody didn't know either. I didn't know.
I go, did you have enough water? He goes, no. He goes, we ran out of water after the first 30 minutes. We were already out of water. And the people were crying. And I'm going,
no.
And I just laughed. I said, did you help people out? Because I'm assuming because he's tough. And he just says, yeah, I was helping. There was a kid that's a little heavy. And he goes, so I stayed back with him because he was getting tired and tried to help him through and that kind of stuff. But you see, we just kind of go, oh, good, you got rescued and everything's fine. Most part, because it happens. I said, who took you out on this hike? He goes, a guy that's been there for 5 years. He just got lost. And he explained how they're going up and down the hill. But, I'm so used to just saying that, hey, life happens. But there's things that go beyond that. Like purposeful. That's why I've been putting in like the description of this. There's these adults that are intending to cause fear, intending to cause chaos. This they got lost on a hike is not, they didn't intend for that to happen. And so I have some grace and forgiveness.
Right.
And nobody died.
Right.
But these people, there's some people that in Minnesota that were just waiting for somebody to die. They were hoping somebody would get shot, because then now we have something we can rail against. I would not say that I don't believe that that's kind of what's going on now here with some of these community members. They say, oh, the kids are so fearful, but man, wouldn't it be great if one of them got hurt in the back of their head? I feel like that's where we're at, because that's how sinister some of this stuff is.
Well, when you are having people that are reporting, these people are reporting that there can be these events, mass casualty events. We've seen them at all the parades. We've seen them, and these are being organized by some, like the Party for Socialism and Liberation. It is a heavily funded by the CCP. People looked up, people over the weekend, they are sending me screenshots. Do you know who funds these people? Yes, I do. And so, when I think if you're going to, if things like this are happening, you need to give parents as much information for them to make an informed decision. Because I think if people knew that there's been rumors of mass casualty events, that some of these walkouts and, things like this happening, then parents would have made a more informed decision. Some of these kids, like, I don't think anybody was standing there making sure that every single kid was, I don't know for sure that that's a question I have, to make sure that they had a note to be checked out, like some of the other schools were. But can you imagine if something like that happened and we didn't follow through on all our protocols And then also too, knowing the stuff that we know, if you're just letting social media and the Democrat Party and teachers union, all these people just rail and rail with false information, and the parents let them go with this, and you find out it's all a lie and all these things happen.
Yep.
It's just, I mean, even now too, they wouldn't be going, you wouldn't have a so-called teenager going onto Facebook if they weren't in complete damage control right now.
Right.
So that's what this is. And I feel bad, you feel bad because these kids have been had,
Yeah. And that's why I have so much anger towards the superintendent, and I don't even really know her.
Yeah.
And I know that I had hopes that she would be competent and have common sense, but this is no secret about who's pulling the strings. This is no secret to her because I emailed her all the facts of the Facebook post about this supposed kid that got arrested by ICE, that didn't get arrested by ICE.
Yeah.
I told her I talked to the chief of police, who should be a trusted, reliable source. I mean, so much, and yet she chose to do nothing, and to.
Well, I think too, if you can put out information that's like, if people are putting out information that's trying to trigger walkouts and are actually saying that policies and resolution that is coming forward on an agenda for your district is completely false, why would you not try to squelch it? Why would you not try, unless you have a board majority telling you not to? Which is, they do a lot of weird stuff. The last year, I mean, I'm going to say it, I wouldn't be surprised if these guys are indicted, but for all of this, the nonsense and the foolishness that they did, the fraud and the abuse and all of the things that are going on with them. I mean, how many investigations are we having? How many EEOC complaints? Like, I mean, there's so much going on. And what they were doing was just absolutely atrocious to people. But, like, if you're coming on the aftermath, the thing is that the community just wants truth. And I feel like that's where the failure is that we don't have people who are willing to stand up and say, this is the truth, the fact of the matter, this is the rumor, but I'm going to tell you, this is what the policy says, and this is what this trustee's resolution says. And so you can make up your own mind, but this is what's happening. It's not the PYL Buzz and the Yorba Linda Moms putting out that ICE chased this kid and did all the Bachelor papers. And it's not that there's a resolution that's coming forward that will allow ICE onto our campuses, or, that we're only attacking, like, we're opening up because I want Asians and Hispanics. I mean, it's like my goodness. It's just, I mean, and it's so ludicrous to say it, but I mean, that's all it is. Some leader, that's leadership right there, is to make sure that everybody knows when they're trying to make an informed decision that you have all the facts.
So true.
Very true.
Can I tell you what my son told me? I'm sorry, folks, but this was another funny one. So my 12-year-old doesn't have a phone. I don't give my kids phone until they get into junior high and high school. And so one of the biggest problems they had in the first couple of days were kids crying because they didn't have their devices with them. So my son's going, I don't even know what they were crying about.
Yeah.
I said, see, how happy are you?
Yeah. Well, I think too, what was really funny today was this so-called teenager was on, or El Dorado, I don't even know where. I assume she said, I think they said they went to El Dorado, but that was like kind of all they said. But they're posting, and like, school started at 8:30 and you're still posting like 20 minutes later, and so I aren't supposed to be in class. But
the teachers don't even care. I mean, that's if they, I know that they don't care enough. And so that's why I do the things that I do with my kids. I said, I give them these responsibilities and rules, and if you violate them, then you lose it.
Right.
And so, because we have to take charge of these situations, because we have such a problem that there are enough, unfortunately, teachers that are not doing their job,
right,
and not making sure that the kids are getting educated. That's what we've been trying to do for 6 years, you and I, is to get back to education. We just, so little is done at the school board meetings and in the district that has to do with education. It was during a very short period of time with Dr. Chernus and Dr. Gates. We saw great movement towards education. And we saw an increase in enrollment. But I love that the one lady was giving the presentation recently and saw this downturn, this hockey stick of downward turn of enrollment, just losing kids by the hundreds. And sitting there going, we're going to try to figure out why this is happening. I said, well, just look to the left where you see it flatten out.
That's when 3 board members. That's the reason.
3 parent board members and a superintendent that was more concerned about education than indoctrination.
Yep.
That combination works.
Yep.
And not this other nonsense. And
Yeah.
so this district's in deep, deep trouble. Is there any hope? And I'm just going to bring this up really quick. Is there any hope of separating, of Yorba Linda having its own district?
So that's what some people have been asking me, and they've said, should I pull my kids? Like, what should I do? And, like, how can I give anybody what's the answer? I mean, I'm trying to, help our school district get better and get stronger, but you get, this board majority who doesn't seem to really care about educating the kids. And and so me and Todd are sitting here, education, they're politics, because when you take that much money from teachers unions, and these unions and you get in, basically, you get in bed with these people, you're doing what they want. I mean, how many times has Maryland sat up there with scripts? How many times do you see David Radler and Sam Mayovich up there passing out scripts to people to read? I mean, these are like teachers union, hardcore Democrat Party people. I mean, how much money have these people spent us on all of their lies and this, false outrage and all of the nonsense? But, so if you look at Prop 50, Yorba Linda was against Prop 50, Placentia was. And so it says, Placentia, Yorba Linda Unified School District. And so the question people are saying now is, are we actually unified? But I mean, if you look at and that's when you start to look into the data, Placentia votes like 50-50, so it's kind of like half and half. And then you have this. So I don't know. I don't know if the split should have, I don't know. But I do know that the way that it gets done is you just go down to basically the OC Board of Education and pull papers to split off. And, now too, we're losing more and more kids to the CRLA, which is the charter school, that's getting involved in our school district, and the Orange County Classical Academy. We're getting all of these charter schools, people are fleeing to them. And so there has to be people that start looking and saying, what the heck are we doing wrong? And it's when you're passing out ICE cards on campuses, and when you're defaming law enforcement, and when you have administrators who are releasing emails about students, conversations that parents are having about students, and when you're releasing disciplinary things and you're talking trash. Because I mean, literally these parents come up to me and they say, how do all these teachers know things about my son? I thought things were supposed to be confidential, but everybody's talking about it. And so people lose trust. And when you have I remember when Turnus was still here, you had people from Yorba Linda High School, El Dorado, I think maybe a couple of Valencia, but basically all 4 high schools. And then you have the elementary schools, Normal, Rose Drive, and those people who speak a lot. They're friends of Carrie's. But you have them coming forward and they're bad-mouthing administration. And you have a teachers union rep, basically making like racial innuendos to Dr. Gates. You have all these people doing this and they think like, oh my gosh, like, why are these kids leaving? Well, it's your behavior, like the bullying. Like there's somebody who like talks about my MAGA makeup and always like makes fun of my appearance. She's an assistant principal out in Chino Valley. And everybody goes, why are these kids being bullies? Well, maybe it's what, like, I will always come out on social media. I'll give you the facts about what the issue is. I'm not going to sit here and talk about Esther Kim or Bonnie Conte's appearance. I'm going to say what it is they're doing and like lay out the facts. I'm not going to go make fun of people. I mean, even though sometimes you really want to, especially when like somebody's, online saying stuff, you're like, oh my gosh, I could say so much, but I'm not going to. But so like, instead of sticking to the facts, I mean, and that's how you're losing. The case is when they start going, oh, look at her hair.
Nazi.
Look at her makeup. She's a Nazi. She's a MAGA. She's got MAGA makeup. She's got this. She's got that. So, I mean, like, that's the thing. So you see these teachers acting this way, and then the kids come home and they say, hey, my teacher was really mean. Then you see them at a board meeting or you're sitting next to them. Like, I had one parent from the last board meeting. She says, I don't even know what to do. There was 4 teachers sitting behind me and they were so rude. She goes, I don't even know if I can send my kids here anymore. So this is the stuff that's happening. And then like, I don't understand. Like when we used to have to go to city council meetings, remember?
Yeah.
We had to remain so professional. Even if we didn't like what was being said, we had to sit there so professional. You're sitting there in your uniform, professional. Nobody should be able to know what we were thinking or what our thoughts, opinion of the city council members are doing. But in this thing, like my husband sat through a meeting one time. He knew it was going to be contentious. And I think he just wanted to be humored. But so he sat there, and after the meeting was over, I got home. He says, Leandra, he says, I would never send our kids to a public school system again. He goes, it just wouldn't happen. He goes, I cannot believe the way that these people are acting. And he says, they're teachers.
Yeah.
He goes, and the things they're saying.
They've flipped me off. They've said F you. They've had people hit my camera with their hand and cover it up and just say, again, I repeat that Quintero had me follow to church and serve papers in front of the congregation. They called Pastor Jack Hibbs. They've called Pastor Bob's church and demand that I be removed from the church. It's such wild stuff. And I go, I don't even know really. I'm sure I run into some of these people that I brought up. I wouldn't recognize them because it's not about them per se. It's about what it is they're saying and what they're doing. Right. I wouldn't even know. I wouldn't know if I ran into these people out at Stater Brothers. I probably said hi to them and smiled. And they probably said, and they probably like looked at me like I was crazy. Like, no, you called me a liar. I said, well, you're lying about ICE. You're talking about what's happening on.
And when we're talking about teachers, we're not saying that this is we're not saying this is all teachers, because there's a lot of like excellent teachers. We're talking about the ones that are the activists, because that's the thing too, is that's always been what I've said, is even in law enforcement, it's always something that happens, like, because there are bad officers. And so those are the people that you go, my gosh, why are you doing this? This is stupid. You're making us all look bad. It's in the same case here. You have a group of teachers who are so volatile in the board meetings, and they're so volatile, like even out in the community, in the classrooms, whatever this is, that it gives everybody, a bad reputation. And so now people think all teachers act like this. I mean, I'm appalled. Like when I first was in the board, when I was first put on to the board, I was shocked. Like when Judy Reese told Shari Palaki to F off, and like people stood up and flipped on, like with teachers flipping.
That's crazy.
Like, what in the world?
I was praying and they were screaming for me to be arrested.
Yes. You guys said a big group, a large group tried to pray. You're in the middle of it. They started hissing at him and said, you can't pray in here. I mean, it's just like, it's wild. If you just want like some entertainment,
come tonight.
You need to come to a school board meeting. And I will say, like, I went to a city council meeting last week, I think it was. They had some kids from Kramer and Travis Ranch being recognized for the robotics program. They're, doing some big things there. And I stayed just because there was such a large crowd, because they're upset about the development that's going to happen over by the Jewish synagogue, the school and stuff over there. There was people in shirts. I mean, I'm friends with Carlos. I like Carlos. And he had to bang that gavel a few times. And I don't want to have to bang this gavel. I thought, oh man, you're almost ready to go do a school board meeting. You're almost there. But I mean, it wasn't even, it wasn't even near the level of this. But I thought to myself too, would that be tolerated if city employees were sitting in the crowd and heckling people and heckling the council? And like, it's just a different world. It's just like, if you.
They're just children. I don't even know what to say.
Oh man,
lost their ever loving mind.
Yeah.
Who wakes up in the morning and say, you know what? I'm going to create a story about ICE chasing down an El Dorado kid and pointing guns at him. This is going to be really good. Like they have no thought process that somebody will figure that out. I don't even understand waking up and thinking that way.
Well, and I think the thing too is like, if you actually look at things, and if they were chasing him, if Anaheim police was chasing him, and there was a few of them chasing, then as if they were fighting on the ground or tackled or struggled, somebody's probably covering with a gun while we make sure that the guy has no gun. Not what we, but like, the officers. I mean, there's so many different protocols, and people just, oh my gosh, but the whole thing still went back to that first thing is, why were you being chased? Like, that was the first question in my mind. Why were they chasing you?
The first 5 words you and I go, no. This ain't happening.
And I think
if it did happen, then why did you run?
Yeah. And so I guess too, this OC Indivisible and the Party for Socialism and Liberation, I've had a lot of people contacting me, even from out of state, and they said that, like, I think one school board member in Florida reached out to me, and she said that they had 700 people from this organization come to their board meeting. She said it literally took hours to get through public comment. So I don't know. I think that's the plan. We've had
for tonight?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we've had, like, on PYL Buzz, we have some agitators that, kind of come and yell and scream. And so they've been out there trying to get these kids, come out, plan for 1 minute, da 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 da. So I don't know what's going to happen tonight, but hey, it could be wild. Like my husband says, so, like, he goes, I came in earlier and he says, do you have a board meeting tonight? I said, I do. And he says, it's going to be a short one or a long? And I said, I really don't know. I have no idea.
We're going to find out.
We're going to find out. But I'm
right.
trying to think what else is on the agenda. But this policy, this
crazy
immigration
policy that means nothing.
that barely makes a dent in anything, and then a resolution to support law enforcement.
Yeah.
And to tell teachers not to politicize law enforcement or degrade them in the classroom has suddenly become a hot topic of conversation.
That's as crazy as saying, or getting asked a question, can men get pregnant, and saying you don't know. They're on that equal.
Oh my gosh.
A doctor, like, well, I'd rather not answer that question. Like, just say, no, they can't get pregnant. Like, I don't understand. Like, why should we have to tell you to support law enforcement?
Yeah.
Like, why has this become a thing?
Well,
we have them in every high school.
Oh yeah. Well, and that's the thing too, is that's why I kept asking. I go, why are you going down to Placentia Police Department? They are not federal law enforcement. They're your school resource officers. Another thing too, just before we go, I went to last Friday. I went with some people, other board members, city council members, state assembly people. We went to the CIF meeting. It happens, every few months. And, we had a press conference, and, we're out there talking, and we had a lot of our students and talking that have been, obviously harmed or, displaced by transgender athletes. As though one person was, especially one girl was very, very compelling. Like she said, there is a boy who is already dressed. He comes already dressed, and he goes and he sits in the locker room and watches us change. CIF, how can you tolerate this? And then just now coming out of Washington, there is a wrestler, a transgender wrestler. So it's a male, wrestling in the female section. And she talks that she was sexually assaulted. He actually penetrated her with his fingers. And I guess it was Puyallup school district or somewhere in there that they said that they were trying to cover it up. So, like, what are we doing here? So the fight is still on. Not only are we fighting for support of law enforcement, but we're still fighting to keep men out of women's sports and spaces, because you keep hearing this stuff, and CIF just sits there stone-faced. And Pride at the Pier, which, as you know, they come to our board meetings. A.B. Hernandez's mom was there, the normal Pride at the Pier people, but this is the same group that Carrie Buck and Marilyn Anderson were escorting around, making sure that they were safe and come to our board meetings. They were there as well. But I wanted to say, shout out to Tish Hyman. She is the woman who was in Planet Fitness.
Oh, yeah. I love her.
She came. And so I was having a really bad hair day. My hair was very furrowy because of the fog. But we got a picture together, and we actually, we hung out, we talked, because she not only came out to the press conference, but she went in and she advocated for CIF. So you can find that on my socials, my Instagram, Facebook. I have a recording of her. But what she says just makes so much sense. And she's running for LA mayor.
That's awesome.
So, yeah. So, more and more traction. Like she says, I am a lesbian. Yeah. She goes, and I don't want this man standing here. She goes, it doesn't matter. This isn't like an LGBTQ thing. She goes, this is not red and blue. She says, this is pink and blue, which I thought was absolutely a great message. So I think we just keep pushing and pushing and pushing, but that stuff isn't going away either.
She's black, right?
Black. She's black.
She's black and gay, so she should be welcomed.
Well, what she actually said? She actually got on and she said, it was really cute. She says, I'm out here. I got all these white women. She goes, and man, they're going hard. And she says, where are all these black women? She says, I'm surrounded by these white girls. Man, they are just going hard at this. Like, they're out there putting it on the line. And she says, where are we? Where are we? She says, we believe in this. Like, we don't believe men should be in women's sports. Why are we not out here? And so I think as it continues to happen, it continues to move. I mean, hopefully the Supreme Court comes with some guidance, but it's just a reminder on Friday when I was out there, we're under federal investigation for Title IX violations because we have 3 board members who think that this stuff is okay to put men in your locker rooms and your sports, that it's okay. And I just sit there and I shake my head and everybody goes, what's happening with this? Like, yeah, we're under investigation. So yeah, but that fight is still on. I'm still out there fighting the fight. Crystal Miles from Villa Park City Council, she came along too. We had a lot of people out there. Kate Sanchez was out there. We had Josh Lowenthal, who is a Democrat Assembly member. He came over and flipped off all these girls who were speaking. So so it was an interesting time, but just know I'm always going to fight for law enforcement, and to cooperate and to support them. I'm always going to fight for your girls.
Was Assemblyman Weiner there?
He was not. He was not.
Just wanted to ask.
No, he was not. And I'm so happy because that would I don't know if I would have been able to keep
dressed in as leather.
I don't know if I could have kept my mouth closed on that. Oh my gosh. That's just the stuff he's brought forward. Just to being law enforcement officers and the trauma we've seen from the sex abuse and things like that. The fact that he keeps lowering this age of consent and, the penalties for sodomy and rape and stuff like that. I just can't get on board with that. I would have a lot to say about those issues.
All right. Don't get me started at the end of a show.
I know.
I was a sex crimes detective and dealt with these madmen.
I know you did.
It would have. Okay. I'm going to bring it in, reel it on in. 6 o'clock tonight, school board.
Yeah.
Meeting.
So apparently we have a 5 o'clock special study session.
Oh.
I kind of think I know what it's about. I don't know if she wants more guidance from the board as to what we want from her. I'm not sure.
Who's her?
The superintendent.
Okay.
And then I believe they said 5:45 to 6:30 will be closed session, which is just normal. And then 6:30, the fun will begin.
Nice.
And I really, see this whole immigration policy and this resolution has really kind of overtaken the whole agenda. I actually last night had to go scroll through and just to make sure I knew what the other items were on the agenda because it's just taken so much time. But
if we would take and spend as much time on education as they've done on all of this nonsense, we would be in a far better place.
Yeah.
I can't imagine the hours it took and the cost for an attorney to read the policy that they wrote up, like how much money that cost and how much time it took to do that.
Mm-hmm.
It's this, we continue to do these things.
Yeah.
Not we, they continue to do these things, and it leads us nowhere closer to a proper education for our kids. This madness has to stop.
Yeah, I mean, I will say, I can disagree with certain things, like with leadership and certain things that happen, but there is like a kind of a strategic plan that she's trying to come up with, because she does agree with Turnus. Turnus is, she has said so many times, Turnus was spot on, knowing that, our ed services and other issues that we were pointing out that we were having, she sees it as well. And so she has brought in independent consultants that she's worked with and who will be honest with her about how do you fix these things. So in the education realm, I do believe she's trying to fix it, and to try to kind of pick up where Turnus was leaving off with this. But yeah, so it's
all right.
It's interesting, and that's about all. That's about all I have to say.
Thank you for looking at something positive.
I'm trying to be positive.
Yeah.
I really am.
All right. So we'll see you tonight at the school board meeting. See you tonight. We'll see hopefully a lot more. I'm calling for men to show up. Why are you not at the school board meetings? Why aren't you protecting your daughters and your granddaughters? Why are you not there? I will continue to say this. Somebody's got to be there. Some men. I know I have a couple other men from my men's Bible study that said that they'll be there, and some other peeps.
Well, and I think too, what also needs to be known is they're making these all calls, PYL Buzz, Yorba Linda Moms, this Socialism and Liberation group, and then now we have OC Indivisible. They're trying to get all these people, and like somebody said online last night, she lives in Anaheim. Her kids don't even go to her school. She says, "I'll see you tomorrow at the board meeting," and I was like,
all right.
okay. But they're trying to bring in all these outside people for it. And like I keep telling people, I'm not calling police unions. I'm not picking up the phone and calling all these cops and all these, families and saying, you got to show up to the board meeting and speak, because you know what? I just put out the information as I can to the community. And, I don't understand like why bring all of this stuff in, so you're going to rant and rail for a minute about law enforcement and ICE. I mean, it's just so political. So like, I'm going to say, I haven't asked anybody to come to the board meeting and speak. I would love for everybody to come. And the reason I would say people need to come is because you need to see the lunacy of what shows up and what people say and the behavior. And then that's usually when people see and they get on board and they go, oh my gosh, this is crazy. So I don't usually say, come speak and come do this and do that. I don't ask. I say, yeah, just come and observe. Just come and observe.
Yeah.
And
come and watch.
Come and watch. And I will need to say no more. So
it'll be fun.
Yes.
Well, thank you, Leandra.
Thank you. Thank you.
Looking forward to see you tonight.
Yeah.
And hearing what you have to say.
Yeah. I'm still see how much they try to shut me up.
I can't wait to see all these comments. You have some great long comments on Instagram.
Oh,
It's just
I do?
the font is so small I can't see it.
I'll have to look it up later. But yeah, everybody, thank you for the support. We need to continue to support our law enforcement. The resolution is just supporting law enforcement and stopping politics in the classroom. And the board policy is actually, I see no issues with it. It doesn't really change from what our old policy was to the new policy. So come see for yourself. Let's see what the truth is.
So this comment, Placentia can have boys and girls sports and spaces, critical race theory, and no innovative high-tech facilities or programs for students, and a fancy $7 million kitchen for the employees.
That is the thing that is, this is an issue. It is an issue because, we did an innovation lab for kids for $1 million and everybody lost their ever living mind, but it was for a school site, an innovation lab. And then we did, USI, which, I am taking another look at this to see where we are, where we've come from, because we did developer fees. I mean, it was brilliant to use these developer fees, to build a new program for USI, but yet we'll go do a $6-point-something million kitchen.
Yeah.
Like, holy moly. Like, this is just crazy, crazy, crazy. And especially too, and they don't even eat the food. Like, that's the problem.
Yeah.
And that's what I keep saying is why don't we have a hub instead of having these fancy kitchens?
Yeah.
Why don't we just have a hub, at the food services place, and then we just ship everything out like they're doing at the middle schools and like, things like that. Like, why are we not doing things like that? I don't know. I felt like that would have been more efficient and,
common sense, logic, all those things.
Yeah.
They don't have it.
Yeah.
It doesn't exist.
But you see, that's people from Valencia help certain people get elected. So I guess you got to pay them back.
Right. All right, my friends, that's it. We'll talk to you later. Take care.
Bye, guys.
Bye.